All right, moving on to our next big story now. Nigeria has the highest numbers of malnourished children in Africa.
Indeed, almost half of the 1 million children who die before the age of 5 every year in Nigeria die of malnutrition as the underlying cause. Now, that's according to the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF.
Malnutrition is the major cause of under 5 morbidity and mortality in Nigeria. Now, according to the global agency, 11 million children in Nigeria suffer from acute malnutrition.
The northeast and northwest are the worst hit in the country. More than 6 million children in Nigeria under the age of 5 are said are stunted due to malnutrition. Now,
due to the devastating rise of malnutrition among kids, especially in the northeast, the Aliko Dangote Foundation has pledged to invest $100 million over 5 years to tackle malnutrition in the worst affected parts of Nigeria.
Well, joining us in the studio is a public affairs commentator, Olukayode Salako, to look at this cheery news. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining us at this time.
Good morning.
Yes.
And good morning to Nigeria.
Yeah. Now, without proper nutrients, the first 1,000 days of every child is the most threatening, and that many children may not even survive diseases if they do not get proper nutrients within those period of time. So how commendable is this gesture by the Aliko Dangote Foundation?
Well, this is not the first time Aliko Dangote, the Africa's richest man, has coming to intervene. It's an interventioning gesture from him. I think he has looked around to see that the Nigerian government needs help. It is a way of coming out to intervene in the situation of the poverty and hunger that is ravaging the land right now. So he has come out to intervene and at the same time to support the government, because normally it is the responsibility of the government and the family to feed the children. Not Dangote's business.
You took it right out of my mouth, because I was going to say then it speaks to the fact that government alone cannot really tackle the problem of malnutrition. Now, Dangote hopes to achieve a 60% success rate in the next 5 years. How doable is it? Of course, considering the fact that he'll be joining with Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation, who have a track record of success anyway.
Well, Dangote has the money. He is the richest man on the continent of Africa. So Dangote is like a government on his own. It's like,
well, with $13 billion in your kitty, that's huge.
It's like a government, a federal government on its own. And all along, it has been about the federal government of Nigeria and the Dangote government of Nigeria.
Don't be sarcastic now. Don't be sarcastic.
All along. I'm just being figurative.
Of course.
But is it good for any country really to be dependent on an individual or persons for their own responsibility? Countries, especially African countries, have been accused of budgeting a pittance of 1 or 2% of their annual budgets to health. And if you now divide that in that sector, it means quite a small amount will go to nourishing children in the country.
Yeah, because the Africa as a society does not plan for the future. The African leaders don't care about the future of the children of today. They only care about their own survival, their own welfare, who they become, who their children are going to become, their own personal children are going to become. So they don't have that vision and that broad-based plans to start developing the Africa of tomorrow for healthy survival.
Because they are the future leaders, of course.
From today. So that is why corruption has been the order of the day. You see, where African leaders don't have it in their consciousness to develop Africa of today for that of tomorrow, for the healthy survivor of that of tomorrow. Corruption is what would always be the cause. Now, there is no way we can abandon today's children and not feed them properly and expect Africa of tomorrow to be healthy. So it means today's African leaders are not concerned, they are not bothered.
And this means that the future of Africa is shaky because this malnutrition problem is quite a huge one.
Definitely.
Affected children will have stunted growth, and some of them could have
stunted growth,
mental
stunted brains.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like that, stunted brains, sadly. Meaning that if millions of children in the northeastern part of Nigeria, especially, and some in the northwest, are affected by this, meaning millions of them, meaning that the future of Nigeria somehow, could we say it's bleak?
Well, it is. You are asking a rhetorical question. The question you also know.
No, it's a question. I didn't say it.
When millions of children are not properly fed today, when they can't eat, when they are being malnourished today, tell me the kind of a future, I mean, that is going to achieve for the Nigeria of tomorrow.
Well, like they
definitely
say,
it is going to be a malnourished Nigeria of tomorrow.
Because at the end of the day, you really cannot give what you don't have.
Definitely.
Okay, so back to the question I asked you earlier. Dangote hopes to achieve 60% success rate. How possible do you think he can actually achieve this in the next 5 years? That's the 11 million Nigerian children who are malnourished can actually, you know, find a better situation.
Dangote is only coming in to intervene, to help. It is not his responsibility.
Yes.
And number two, Dangote is not just Dangote we talk about. This is a foundation. So they must have looked into it. There must have been a plan, a blueprint. They must have known how it is going to work. They won't just wake up. Dangote won't just wake up.
Well, it's not the first
yeah,
time
they could have all of that, everything planned out, you know, superb on paper. But when it comes to implementation, don't forget some of the food that was diverted for the IDPs in the Northeast, the same Northeast. And that probably is part of the reason why there's a huge, you know, challenge of malnutrition in that part of the country. So how can the Dangote Foundation and, of course, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation ensure that whatever they are actually earmarking, gets to the
source.
Yes, absolutely, gets to the objective.
Well, Dangote is a Nigerian,
and he understands.
And he knows the problem of Nigeria. He knows that if the resources are not properly channeled, monitored, and if possible, he himself, you know, puts it upon himself to be involved in the process of how those resources would move, it might definitely not get to the source.
But that's the reality. He's a busy man. He has a foundation for that.
No, I'm just being figurative this morning. You see, I'm just being figurative. I'm not saying Dangote himself.
Of course.
Dangote should definitely set up maybe a team, a monitoring team, who would be in charge of the disbursement of the resources, and at the same time, the monitoring. And that is if the members of those, the members of the committee, the team, or the committee is going to set up, are not going to betray him.
Well,
if they are going to be truth to the cause.
Now, UNICEF country representative in the country, Malik Fall, said, and I quote, "Nigeria is putting its children at risk of underdevelopment, both physically and mentally, because critical national policies are not providing an adequate foundation for their growth," meaning that the lives of our children are dependent on the policies put in place by the government. So what kind of policies?
And according to her, too, it's a drawback to economic development. Any plans for economic development?
There's a multiplying effect.
You see, any government policy which does not support or encourage how today's children can properly fit is not a policy that is good for the future survivor.
But then to clarify,
healthy future survivor of that country.
To clarify, it is not about there is not even a responsibility of the government really to provide food, put food on the table of the children. But what this could imply is providing jobs so that parents, of course, be able to provide for their children. So there is a process really. So that's why I asked of the policies.
You see, I was on this platform some time ago where I said The Nigerian system cannot deliberately be making the parents of these children poor. And we now want to be looking up to people like someone like Dangote alone, or the intervention fund. The government, the special intervention fund, the government has been operating to feed some of these children.
Yeah, the school feeding program.
The best way to feed
and there are question marks on that anyway.
Children is to first of all provide a system where their parents could be economically healthy and good enough to feed their own children, because children should look up to their own parents
and not the government
who brought them to this world, and not government. The responsibility of government is to provide the enabling environment,
absolutely
good environment for parents of these children to survive ideally.
Now that we have this intervention coming from Dangote, should it focus only on feeding, or should it look at, you know, more sustainable strategies like actually empowering these people, providing education, you know, good health, and all of that in such a way that these people can actually stand on their own?
You see, I would have even preferred Dangote to do it this way. Make it a kind of poverty alleviation camp. Let Dangote establish his own camp. Okay. His own private camp. Let government give him, government has always been giving him licenses to do whatever. So let him ask for government to give him a license to establish his own
huge burden on him.
No, it's not going to be
later on at the long run.
It is Africa's richest man.
It's not his responsibility.
And he is going to be admitting the vulnerable ones. Those ones that are really, really vulnerable. For example, all the Almajiris, all these little kids, they are all over Lagos, they are all over Nigeria, begging on the street. The Dangote Foundation could provide coastal buses with the help of the government, support of the government, to go and start picking them up from the streets. And when he picks them up, he takes them to his camp, invite their parents, reach an agreement to keep these children for a period of time.
Would you like to see something similar to...
begging for arms, some of them.
They prefer
begging for arms instead of staying in camps. If they are picked up and they are in a camp, how would they come out to come and start begging for arms?
Would you like something similar to the Rochas Okorocha Foundation that actually, you know, provides schooling for many of these children and has gone beyond Nigeria to other African countries?
That is a concept. What I am proposing now is another concept.
Okay.
Dangote Foundation camp. Inside that camp, there will be schools, there will be hospitals, there will be restaurants. Everything will be almost free, if possible, free. So, Dangote could pick these children up, all these Almajiris, pick them up, put them in that camp with the agreement of the parents and the government, maybe for a period of 2-3 years, to change their orientation.
First off.
So, inside the camp, they will have access to quality food, good food, and at the same time, they have access to school, good health facilities, and all of that. Don't forget that charity is part of our culture in Africa. So what Dangote is doing is, number one, fulfilling the commandment of God that those who have in our midst should
remember the less privileged.
Again, is supporting the government and also supporting some families to be able to bring up healthy children for the Nigeria.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. If it does any help at all to understand where government really stands in terms of its seriousness about tackling malnutrition, it says countries allocate only between 1% and 2% of their health budgets to malnutrition issues. So would you say then that governments are really sincere to tackle the challenge of malnutrition? Olukayode Salako, thank you so much for joining us on TVC Breakfast this morning.
Thank you very much.
All
Killing
right.
corruption is the solution.